This is the card we're going to make today. This one was made using the Hero Arts January 2020 kit. This is the front of the card. This is the inside of the card with the pop-up feature and a sentiment. And let's begin. And I'm going to use the stamps and the dies from the Hero Arts January 2020 kit. These are the stamps that are included, and these are the dies. And so what I've done is I have cut out the envelope die, which is this one right here, with just some Paper Studio heavyweight white cardstock. This is from the Hobby Lobby. And then I've also cut out the flowers from a pink heavyweight Paper Studio, and I've also cut it out of a green. And then also this particular flower out of some yellow, and the butterflies out of light blue. Now I cut these out of multiple colors because I want to be able to have the stem. And so what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to cut off the stem here. And then I will take one of these matching ones and I am going to just cut a little bit up here so that I have enough so that I can glue the green stem onto the flower. But I watched Jennifer McGuire and she showed a quick and easy way to color these, and so I'm going to use her technique to color these. And so I am going to use a Stampin' Up! Ink pad. This is Sweet Sugarplum, which happens to match pretty well with this color. So I'm going to use a finger dauber, and I am just going to apply some of the darker color along the bottom and leave it lighter at the top. Okay, and I'm going to use some garden green to color in the leaves and stems for the flowers. Okay, for these yellow flowers, I'm going to use Daffodil Delight. Okay, I'm going to use a Copic marker G28 and see if I can color in these stems. Okay, I'm going to use some unicorn white pigment ink and also a sponge dauber here. And I am going to put some white just right on the edges and also along the details where it shows details. And I will do the same with the rest of the flowers. Okay, now the stems that I cut off here, I will put on so that we have our stems here. Okay, and I'm going to use an E55 Copic marker to just add a little bit of darker color to the center here. And I'll use some gold Wink of Stella right where these dots are. And I'll also add some random dots to this. Okay, and I've cut the butterfly out of some light blue heavyweight cardstock. And I'll put some of the Hero Arts Unicorn White. Okay, and I'll use my gold Wink of Stella for the body. Alright, and here are all our die cuts, colored and ready to assemble onto our card. Okay, and for the envelope, it's got some score lines here. This is the right side and this is the wrong side. And so I'm going to fold back from the right side and I'll reinforce that fold. So I'm just going to fold the bottom flaps. I'm going to leave the top flap open. Okay, on this flap down here, I'm going to want to stamp this Love Mail stamp that's from the main kit. I'm going to want to emboss it, and so I'm going to put some anti-static on, and I'm going to use some Versafine Onyx black ink, and I'm going to use some clear embossing powder. Okay, and now I'm going to put my flowers in. Start to just put the flowers in and get them positioned. Okay, now I've used some Paper Studio parchment cardstock, and this is kind of a grayish color. And I have cut this 5 1/4 by 8 1/4, and I'm going to score it at 4 1/8. And I'm going to put a little mark 2 inches in from either side, just at the score line. And then I am going to run a line that is 1 1/2 inches above the score line at each of those points. running along 2 inches. And then also 1/2 inch below the score line. And so we'll just run this at 1/2 inch. And then I'll just mark along here. So I've made a little square, and I'll zoom in here. So it's 1.5 inches above the score line and 1/2 inch below the score line. Now I'm going to take my scoreboard, and these 2 lines that are running along this way, I am going to score along them. Okay, and now I'm going to put this into my paper cutter, and I am going to cut it along the long lines here on either side. So what I have got is a cut right like this. So this is the 1.5 inches above the score line, and then 1/2 inch below the score line. Okay, one thing I forgot is we also want to put a score line 1/2 inch below the top here. So I will just put a little mark here at 1/2 inch. And then draw a pencil line. And then I will take my scoreboard. Okay, and I'll take my eraser now, and I'm going to erase all these pencil marks. Okay, now I want to fold it so that we'll fold it along the main score line here. And also along the top score line. So we've got a pocket here. And then I will just reinforce all these folds with my bone folder. Okay, next we'll put our envelope onto the pop-up. Okay, and I'm going to give this glue now a good chance to dry, and we'll be back. And I'll use some foam dots to put the small butterfly onto the piece. Okay, and I'll use some of my clear Wink of Stella on the butterflies themselves. Okay, and for the big butterfly, I'm just going to put some glue on it. Okay, and I'll also put some clear Wink of Stella onto the flowers here. Okay, for the sentiment, I'm going to use the Sending My Love stamp from the main kit. And I want to emboss it again. So I'm going to use my anti-static tool. And I'll use my Versamark ink. And I'm going to use the pink sparkle embossing powder that came with the kit. Okay, and I'm going to use the banner die that came with the kit. And to smooth down the edge of this banner die where the die kind of pushed it up, I'm just going to use my bone folder. Okay, and now I will place the sentiment Okay, this is the paper that came with the kit. And I am going to use the pink one, the dark pink, that came with the kit. Okay, and then I'm going to score it at 4 1/4, which is A2 size. Okay, and then we'll put this into it. But before we glue the inside, I'm going to want to place whatever it is I'm going to put on the front cover. And on the back of my cards, I like to stamp a handmade by on the back of it. And I think from the main kit, I would also like to put this little stamp, which is a little bird, in the stamp. Okay, for the outside of the card, I'm going to use a stitched heart die that I have in my stash. And I'm using the same Paper Studio parchment paper that I used for the inside of the card. Okay, so here's the heart. And I have an extra flower. Okay, I noticed the black Versafine ink on this Hero Arts cardstock is smearing. So I used my eraser to erase the smears, which unfortunately has left a mark, but I can't get around that. And then I'm going to go outside and I'm going to spray it with some Krylon Workable Fixative to hopefully make it so that this pigment ink won't smear. And we'll be back. Okay, now we are going to put the inside in the card base. So we'll start by adding glue. You want to make sure you don't put any glue in here. And one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some of these gems that I got from Tuesday morning. These are the Sequins Fun Flurries. And I'm just going to put some of these on. Okay, and here's the finished card. This is the front. This is the inside with the sentiment and the back of the card. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.